The one defining moment where I realized we had something global was when I finally made a fertilizer out of lawn clippings, potato skins, and banana skins. And I was able to make it in under 24 hours. And I remember taking that effluent, that liquid, and I added it to a bucket of water, this like 5 gallon bucket of water. And I had cut a hole in the lid of the water and I put a little lettuce seedling in there. And within 21 days, I had a full.
Today I brought on Hidaaya Taib, founder and CEO of a Techstars company called AquaOrganix's. AquaOrganix's turns waste into fertilizer within 24 hours, and the fertilizer enables farmers to increase yield by up to 300%. They're also expanding globally, so they're a company to watch. Today we discuss waste conversion technology through their nature-based innovation, as well as Hidaaya's insights throughout his founder journey and as he scales his company globally. This is Earth ABC, featuring Hidaaya Taib. Hidaaya, you started out in South Africa, had to rebuild everything in the US, and now you run a company that turns food waste into fertilizer in an astounding 24 hours. And so with farmers using it in the US, some in Africa, and even a deal with the Iraqi government, which I only found out after our first conversation, I'm really excited to hear more surprises in your founder journey as we talk about your company, all its twists and turns, as well as the sustainability impact it has. So I just want to say thank you for joining me today, Hidaaya.
You're welcome, but thank you for reaching out to me, Sean, and actually expressing interest in AquaOrganix's. I'm really honored. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and this conversation is going to touch on aquaponics, but its focus seems like it'll be on hydroponics since that's what your company AquaOrganix's is mostly about. And first things first, like why should I care about repurposing agricultural waste and food waste into something like fertilizer?
Wow, that's a very, very good question. Let's start with food. Food is something that everybody needs, everybody consumes. Now, how we grow our food is also really, really important. If I were to give you an example, if we take the amount of food that is wasted in the United States, for example, right? We can fill the Grand Canyon each and every single year, over and over, with just with food waste, right? And that food waste releases huge amounts of CO2
Yeah.
that, as we know, is affecting us globally with climate change and etc. Added to that, the way we grow our food, we use synthetic fertilizers. And the manufacturing of synthetic fertilizers and the use of synthetic fertilizers is also contributing to huge CO2 release and climate change.
Mm-hmm.
So both of them, food waste and the way we grow our food, is affecting our environment. So at AquaOrganix's, what we try and do is we try to find a solution for both of them at the same time.
Gotcha. So the food waste and then also how we grow our food plays a big
Mhm.
impact into the environment. And to my understanding, like the status quo right now is you got these like conventional fertilizers and like biostimulants. But the drawback for those is that it in a way has failed farmers in tough climates for quite some time. And in those aspects, like in what ways is AquaOrganix's like different than these like again conventional fertilizers and these
Yeah.
biostimulants?
Okay, so just to make a point here. So conventional fertilizers is fertilizers that are made out of petrochemical byproducts. So your
Mhm.
nitrogen, your phosphorus, and your potassium, your NPKs. And these byproducts are produced through a energy heavy process with a lot of chemical byproducts, and also when it's used, it affects the environment. Then you mentioned biostimulants. Now, biostimulants can be split into two groups. You get to your synthetic biostimulants and your organic biostimulants. Now, before I go any further, I just want to take about a minute to explain what a biostimulant is.
Yeah,
So a
please.
biostimulant, very plainly put, is a type of plant booster, or rather, I'd say a plant steroid that can boost the plant's natural defense systems, that can help the plant grow very tasty fruits. And every plant has these biostimulant properties in them, especially when they're pretty young. So what AquaOrganix has done for both fertilizers and for biostimulants is that we've been able to extract fertilizer value, so your nitrogen, your phosphorus, and your potassium from food waste. And at the same time, we've been able to extract biostimulant value from food waste. And what we're able to do there with the biostimulant specifically is extract the plant hormones or the plant steroids that allow plants to grow beautiful fruits and vegetables, that allow them to grow upright and have a strong defense system. We have figured out how to naturally extract them from food waste. And all you need to do once we extract them, we put them through an AquaOrganix process, and all the user needs to do is spray them onto the tree, the plant, whether it's ornamental, the vegetables, and they'll be able to see the effects of that. So conventional fertilizers, we're able to do that as well as biostimulants, but both of them, we have natural alternatives for them.
I see.
Yeah.
So I also saw you have like different products. So in what
Mhm.
ways are they similar or different than to what you just described?
So we've got, at the moment, we've got a product range that's based on our biostimulant range. So we've
Mhm.
got our MVP, which is called PowerShot. And this is a product that can be used on any tree, any plant, any shrub, any vegetable, even ornamental plants at home, which is an industry we've been moving in for the past year or so, is the houseplant industry, because we found that our product works really well. What we figured out from there was, when we take a certain type of waste, for example, let's say vegetable waste, and specifically, I'm going to say, let's say some lettuces, some cabbages, and some broccoli, we are able to manufacture a biostimulant that'll specifically work for that kind of vegetable. So what we did was we started owning in on specific fruits and specific vegetables. So we do have your general power shot for all plants. Then we've got your power shot for excuse me, you got you for vegetables, for fruits, for dates, for rice, for lawn. So that's the biostimulant range. Then from the same process that we manufacture the biostimulant, we've got another product that we designed, and the name is still up in the air at the moment, and we're still conducting trials with it. It's called MoistureMax. It's probably going to change, but with MoistureMax, it's a byproduct of extracting the biostimulant value. All that it is, and what we found out was, it is food waste that we add a certain soil microbe to and a certain soil fungi to. And you're able to apply that to the top layer of your soil, and it's able to retain water. Up to 50% of the water that you apply will be retained inside there. And then over time, a farmer can use less and less water.
Right.
So yeah, then we've got our NPK, as I mentioned before, our nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and this is also quite cool. We found that we can take plants and vegetables that we know, the waste of those plants and vegetables are high in nitrogen or high in phosphorus or high
Mhm.
in potassium, as with bananas for potassium, for example. And we're able to extract the nitrogen using our process, and then those products are used for hydroponics. A completely waste and plant-based hydroponic solution. Yeah, so those are the products that we able to extract just from waste, and it's all the same process.
Gotcha. So from the last solution, the NPK one, the
Mm-hmm.
biostimulant, and then the soil moisture topping thing, um, you kind of draw these things from waste itself. But where
Yes.
is this waste coming from?
So very good question. When we were in South Africa, we used to just collect waste from our homes. Um, we actually grew to the point where we grew out of the backyard, and we were able to rent a 9 acre farm, not too far from where I'm living. And the farm just happened to be owned by one of the city that I'm living in, one of the largest waste management companies. And the CEO was an absolutely wonderful man, and he had a license to dump waste, or at least haul waste onto that farm. And he said, "Look, I've got the license for all of it. All you guys need to do is convert it." So we started getting waste from him. Um, when we expanded into the United States, or rather, when we moved to the United States, we started all from overs. So once again, started in somebody's backyard, started
Mhm.
collecting waste from neighbors. Um, At the moment, we're still on the process of collecting from neighbors, but it's getting larger and larger. And we've actually reached the point now where we are ready to scale up that process. The same way that we did it in South Africa, we're actually working with a waste management company. We are at the point where we need to be doing the same now in Atlanta.
Right. And so you working with this waste management company in South Africa, they see
Mhm,
waste very differently than another, we'll call it stakeholder, right? I don't want to
mhm.
be super formal, but for like a stakeholder.
Yeah.
How do you convince all these like different stakeholders that are non-waste management company related to see waste then as a resource instead of like a liability with you in the picture?
Um, Good question. So the way we started convincing other stakeholders is basically detailing the value of the products that we were manufacturing. At the end of the day, just to be blunt, money talks, and convincing people that hey, waste has so much value that you can convert it into so many products, and these are all the revenue streams that you can earn from. It usually catches the eye of people. Within South Africa, it caught the eye of a government funding agency, and when we moved to the United States, we applied to Techstars, the water tech and sustainability cohort, and we got in. And when we got in, the managing director said, "You're in because you have an amazing waste conversion model." So it's all about just convincing somebody about the value of what's produced out of it, and usually people buy.
Yeah. And I think your tagline is very suiting for you guys, like a world first for turning food waste to fertilizer in 24 hours. And like you said, like money does talk. And for farmers that you want to help by giving them your biostimulants and the rest of your products, like what does that ROI look like when you give them the product? They pay for it,
Okay.
obviously. And then what maybe cost savings do they see or crop yields that then can equate to some dollar amount?
So I'm gonna mention that the one thing that matters to farmers the most, and that is yield. So we ran trials in South Africa and in Georgia, and also in other countries in Africa as well. And I'm going to give you just a short breakdown of what we experienced. In South Africa, we ran a trial with a bean farmer in a place called Stellenbosch, which is, if you Google it, you'll see it's a place that's just about agriculture. This bean farmer sectioned off a certain size of his farm for us to just apply our product twice a month, and then I think for 2 months or 3 months, we applied it. He experienced a 300% increase in yield. He literally blew his hat off. Another farmer in South Africa experienced an up to 100% increase in yield. When we moved to the United States, we had very similar results, not up to 300%, but up to 100 and more. So if you can tell a farmer, hey, apply this product, it's going to take a little bit more labor, maybe an extra hour a week just to spray the product onto your fruits or onto your vegetables or onto your tree, and chances are you're going to see double what you usually do. So if you have a ton of tomatoes that you've been waiting to grow, and that's usually what happens for a farmer, is he knows he's going to get a ton, and he's going to lose about, I'd say, 20% of that to transport and what and disease and what have you. But if you say to him, hey, there's a chance you're going to get 2 tons out of those very same tomato plants, that's going to really convince them. And we've seen farmers have results very similar to what we did in South Africa with a good yield. So that, I think, is a return on investment for a farmer, is being able to really make a difference on his bottom line at the end of the day.
For sure. And I think in terms of pairing like your products together, like that yield would increase with the biostimulants and with the moisture topping product, like that's
Mm-hmm.
going to be moisture. So they use less water over time. So
That's
they
right.
also have a cost saving aspect to that. So I think that's really cool. You mentioned multiple times how you're in different countries, like all across the world. And so with you being in many different parts, like how do you decide like where to focus first when the need is everywhere?
That's an absolutely amazing question, because it's something we are dealing with at the moment. We have 2 people in the United States that's able to actually handle everything, which we are quite amazed at. Myself and my co-founder Idris, we are in between Atlanta and Cape Town very often. So make that 4 people in the States when we are there. In the Middle East, we fly there as well to try and oversee the trials. Um, how do we choose which one is more important? I don't think we actually do that. It depends on what's what's pressing at that time.
Mhm.
So at the moment, we've got an LOI with the Iraqi government, which is amazing for a company of our size to be able to convince a government to want to work with us. Um, our products basically just speak for themselves, and our waste conversion method speaks for themselves. We've also raised some more interest in the Middle East as well as in the state of Alabama recently. So we look at the workload, I think, and our team is so well skilled that we can handle. I mean, I'm not blowing my own horn here, but I could fly to the Middle East and I could be able to handle what I need to do there. Yeah, it's just about having a great team, and we have a good team that's able to quite a dedicated team as well. Yeah.
Mhm. And this is like perfect because I was just about to ask like what makes your team so special because you mentioned a couple of investors, couple of programs that have really believed in you guys. So it
Mhm.
takes a special team to believe in a special mission. So yeah, would love to hear more about the team, including yourself.
Sure. Okay, so I started AquaOrganix's more than a decade ago, about 11 or 12 years ago. Midway through that journey, I was joined by Idris Panchad, a very good friend of mine. We had been friends before he even knew what I was doing with AquaOrganics, because I was very secretive about it. Um, and he's a professional in robotics, I believe. Yeah, that's his skill set. However, with AquaOrganics, he's our chief operating officer, and he really took AquaOrganics from a backyard to international. I mean, I had the idea, I had the science, I knew what to do. You could give me a handful of grass and potato skins, and I can grow you a lettuce and fruits and vegetables out of that. And he was able to put that into a bottle, and he was able to get our
Mm,
first label on there. And when I started looking for funding, he assisted me with the pitch decks and things like that, which I was not versed in at the time. So he came on board. Then we have Ben Kim, who's based in Atlanta, and Ben is he's got a master's in engineering. And when you've got somebody who's so brilliantly technical, and they're able to take you to the next stage. So now we're looking at not just looking at, but working outside of the States and being able to work on that level. Ben is able to guide us in that regard. Then we have in South Africa still Dr. Ibrahima Ardense, also a good friend of mine. We've been friends since we were 12. And when I figured out how to extract fertilizer value and biostimulant value from food waste, he was one of the first people I contacted because he holds a PhD in microbiology and post-harvest agriculture. And me, coming from a psychology background and not from a biology or science background at all, I knew what I was doing, but I also, in a more real way, did not know what I was doing, if you kind of catch my drift. And having his um, scientific and academic expertise to say to me, hey, you know what you're doing? You're actually doing this, A, B, and C. It's resulting in one, two, three. And it's actually a breakthrough. So we're just a team of people that have a certain set of skills that just happen to fit perfectly with the AquaOrganix's puzzle as time went on. We wouldn't have been in the Techstars cohort if it wasn't for Idris. We wouldn't be working in the Middle East if it wasn't for Ben. And I wouldn't know just how good our waste conversion tech is if it wasn't for Dr. Ardenser. And together we make up AquaOrganix's.
yeah, for sure. It
Yeah.
sounds like you guys complement each other extremely well.
Pretty well. Yeah, yeah. I'm actually very grateful for that. We do. We do.
Yeah. And I know we didn't cover yet how crazy of a journey it has been for you guys like early on. And I want to do it justice, but if you had to like distill your journey into like one defining moment where despite all the chaos that you knew like Aqua Organics could actually become something global, like what was that one defining moment?
The one defining moment where I realized we had something global was when I finally made a fertilizer out of lawn clippings, potato skins, and banana skins. And I was able to make it in under 24 hours. And I remember taking that effluent, that liquid, and I added it to a bucket of water, this like 5 gallon bucket of water. And I had cut a hole in the lid of the water and I put a little lettuce seedling in there. And within 21 days, I had a full head of lettuce. It was at that moment when I saw the lettuce was big enough, I realized, whoa, we're onto something here. We took organic matter. We didn't have to compost it. We didn't have to put it through any crazy processes. We just used nature and we were able to manipulate nature in such a way that the waste became instantly valuable. And I remember turning to Idris and saying, I definitely, we can actually change the world with this. And he just looked at me, shook his head. But we still believe that we can. We still believe we are on that journey. But that was the moment when we were able to grow food out of nothing, basically, out of the things that we throw away.
Hmm.
Mm.
Most definitely. And I think, well, when I heard it, I thought it was too good to be true. And I'm sure others continue to say that. But for like governments and other customers, including farmers, like what do they say when you first show this to them?
So there's two things that we show them. So if we give them the product, we always say to them, use it. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not gonna say that, this is so amazing. All we want you to do is use it and then come back to us. Not once, and I'm going to say this again, not once has somebody come back to us and said it doesn't work. Hasn't happened. We are so confident in it that we say to them, go ahead and try it. We aren't going to charge you for it. Just come back to us.
Hmm.
That's why recently I think we had quite a lot of repeat customers, which for us means the world. It's great to have a new customer, but when you got a repeat customer, that's amazing. When it comes to the waste conversion, um, that's our IP. We don't necessarily tell people how we do it, but we do mention that we're able to reduce waste. For example, in a city that produces a certain amount of waste, X amount gets composted, X amount it actually gets dumped. And we'll say to them, we'll bring whatever you're dumping down by so many tons, and we're able to do it within a week. That catches people's attention.
I mean, you certainly just caught my attention again. But someone like the Iraqi government, who you do
Hmm.
have an LOI right now,
Hmm.
um, what does the partnership look like moving forward?
So we've agreed to work with them, and what they are looking at is a partnership to assist them in all their agricultural initiatives, starting with their rice production. So just to mention the obvious here, the country was at war for many years. That war has since ended, and governments all over the world are now investing in the country of Iraq and trying to rebuild what has been destroyed, especially the agricultural industry. So the partnership with them is to not just develop, but use our products to speed up the agricultural production, because they've heard that our products can um, increase your yield by up to 100%, and that your germination rate can be cut by half as well with your seeds and your seedlings and that. So it's about establishing themselves as a force in that side of the world, in the Middle East, and us helping them get there in the agricultural sector.
For sure. And you have like millions in the sales pipeline right now.
Mhm.
But I imagine like as a startup to expedite like the growth, that fundraising is like somewhere in the picture.
We are actually raising at this point in time, and the reason we are raising is we're trying to activate these LOIs, um, trying to show that, if you look at the interest, the seriousness and the interest that governments have in us, that businesses have in us, we're trying to raise a round that allows us to match that interest.
Mm,
Um, yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Yeah. So we do have a good sales pipeline, but it's all dependent on us being able to match that interest. Yeah.
gotcha. Well, it sounds like you're going to have your hands extremely busy moving forward. And that all that will lead to in the long term is like a global presence
Yeah.
with this fertilizer. And to what extent is that delusion or possibility?
You know what, for me? being with AquaOrganix's for the better part of a decade, more than a decade, delusion and possibility have become one. I don't see a difference between that anymore. If people tell me I'm crazy, I was told I was crazy when I said that even though AquaOrganix's is not going to succeed in South Africa, it's going to succeed somewhere else. Within a year, we were based in Atlanta. Um, I believe without a shadow of a doubt that in time, we will be able to have a footprint on every continent, whether big or small. But the fact is, we will be there.
Mhm.
We have the tech that'll do that. It's been a decade, and nobody else has been able to come up and say, "Hey, we do what you do better than you do it," and that is a sign to me that we've got something special, and I believe in it.
Most certainly. I love your conviction. I love that all you guys are about is reducing waste, improving crop yield, reducing
Hmm.
water usage, and overall just providing a better product for farmers, like not just in the US, not just in South Africa, not just in the Middle East, but eventually at a global
World.
scale. So thank you so much for joining me, Hidaya. I learned a lot about
Welcome.
you as a founder, how you think, but also like what exactly you guys are doing. So very much thankful for this conversation.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Sean, for your time. I really enjoyed this. I love talking about AquaOrganix, and I really love when people understand that it's not just a business for us; it's a vision, it's a mission, it's a purpose in life for us. And I really appreciate it for giving me this opportunity to share my passion with you. Thank you
For
so
sure.
much.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this interview, follow along on Earth ABC's LinkedIn to stay connected and never miss what's going on in climate tech. If you'd like to reach out or you're interested in coming on as a guest, feel free to connect with me, Sean Pack, on LinkedIn. We're always looking for inspiring ventures and founders in the climate space to feature on the show. Hope you enjoyed. Until next time.